Welcome everybody. I'm privileged to have again Jarosław Stakuń. Hello. Today's subject is the what's new in the Red Hat OpenShift number 4. This is the Open Virtualization Portal webinar with our experts. So we have a few weeks ago getting started with the OpenShift. So I hope many people which been on the first webinar will come back. So we'll see how many people liked it. But we have a few good comments. So I think we'll keep going with this kind of the webinar, specializing with the containerization. So Jarosław, a few words about you, my friend.
Yes, so hello everyone. My name is Jarosław. I work as a solution architect for Red Hat. I'm with Red Hat for over 6 years now. I started as a middleware architect, focusing on the JBoss middleware portfolio. Over the time I moved to OpenShift and container space, so I'm focusing now mostly on the OpenShift technology.
So a few words about myself. So my name is Paweł Mączka. I'm a Chief Technology Officer in a Storware company. We do specialize in a data protection field, on the virtualization, also containerization side, and in the cloud. I do love playing my guitar and spending the time with my family, if I don't have so much webinars with the Red Hat like this year. Okay, Jarek, let's move forward. So what do we have today? What's the agenda?
Yeah, so today I will try to introduce to you some new cool features that has been introduced with OpenShift. So there are three major topics I would like to focus. So first one is about the OpenShift infrastructure, what has changed between 3 and 4. Then how do you work with OpenShift? How do you install and maintain the services that you might install on top of OpenShift? And the last part will be focused on new tools and new functionalities that are dedicated for developers.
Okay. We have also a live demo for at least two of the points.
Yes, I will also try to show you some nice features. So we start with the first part. So with the trusted enterprise Kubernetes. So the infrastructure in the OpenShift. So the first big change that has been introduced in OpenShift 4 is the way how you install the platform. So before in version 3 there was separate process to install your operating system, so the nodes for your cluster, and then you had to install on top the OpenShift platform. In OpenShift 4 we built a new installer which makes the installation of the whole infrastructure, basically starting from setting up the machines in your infrastructure layer, then install the operating system and the OpenShift platform. As you can see here, we have introduced a new operating system called Red Hat Enterprise Linux CoreOS, which is kind of lightweight version of RHEL. It's based on RHEL 8, but it is focused only on running the containerized workloads, and it runs only the components that I needed to run containers and Kubernetes.
So it means that the strategy is to use more and more CoreOS instead of RHEL. So what will be the major recommendation from the?
Yeah, so with CoreOS we give a lot of automation in the process of installing, upgrading the platform. Actually, I talk about it here on the slide. So there is a new installer which installs the whole infrastructure, starting from the resources, so networking, the OS layer, storage, through the operating system, and up to all OpenShift components. And there are two modes of this installer. So the first mode you see here, it's fully automated installation where everything is done by the installer. So basically, for example, if you want to install OpenShift on AWS, you just provide your credential to your account, and all the infrastructure and the machines and everything that is needed is provisioned automatically by the installer. But also we do understand that some customers have some requirements in regards to setting up their infrastructure, and this is why we also offer the second mode for running the installer, which is called user provision infrastructure. And in this scenario, as you can see, it's your responsibility to install the to prepare the infrastructure, so the nodes, the networking, storage, and also there is a possibility here to leverage Red Hat Enterprise Linux as an operating system, so the full RHEL as operating system for your worker nodes. So still there is a requirement for CoreOS as an operating system for your control plane nodes, but for worker nodes you can leverage also full RHEL. And of course, our goal is to really provide as much automation as possible for OpenShift installation. In previous version, it was a bit of challenge, especially for more complex environments. There was a lot of Ansible configuration to do manually. Here, we want to automate as much as we can. So this first mode, this installer provision infrastructure mode, is like preferred way for us, and we want to support as much infrastructures as it is reasonable to allow installation of OpenShift. But this is not the end. We also wanted to simplify the updates.
Yeah, this is what I want to ask. What about if you have a 3 version?
Yeah, exactly. So, well, migration from 3 to 4 is maybe a different story, because you will need the tooling. There is no like in-place upgrades.
Okay, so you're talking about the updates in the
yes,
version 4
I'm talking
itself.
about updates within the version, or between version 4 and anything that will be in the future. Again, this has been significantly improved and simplified. So basically, because we have integrated operating system and OpenShift, the upgrades are basically as easy as just replace the version of operating system with the new version, with the new image, running a new version of CoreOS and OpenShift. So the goal is to really have like kind of one-click updates for the platform, and also we follow the same path for other components, but I will talk about this a bit later. So now it's a good time for a short demo, the first demo. So in this demo, I'm not going to show you how you can install OpenShift, because it would take you 20-40 minutes.
Okay.
So this is not time for webcast, but I want to show you some new functionalities that has been introduced for OpenShift management. So I think the first one, which is very nice in OpenShift, is that we have introduced a new API called Machine Sets. It's Machine API, and with this API you can very easily scale your OpenShift cluster nodes. So you can see here on my cluster I have 4 machine sets defined. Actually, this cluster runs on AWS, so I have one machine set per each availability zone in the region where I installed my cluster. So you can see that I have 3 machines, one machine in these three machine sets. And now, if I want to if I want to scale my my cluster, so if I want to add a new node, it is as simple as clicking the button, and this will introduce a process of provisioning a new virtual machine, and this machine will install all the OpenShift components and will join my cluster in a few minutes. There is also a big change. I forgot to mention that it doesn't have to be manual. There's also a concept of cluster autoscaler. So with the cluster autoscaler, the API might monitor the health of your cluster, how many resources this cluster consumes, and it might scale automatically based on the configuration of the autoscaler.
Okay.
Another very interesting feature of OpenShift is that we want to promote and convince users to use OpenShift not only to configure the OpenShift components, but also to configure the machine. So basically we have introduced another API which is called machine config API, and you can see here the machine config pools. They group the individual configurations into a group.
It's good that you said you will try to convince, not force users. We have a choice still.
As an administrator, you always can SSH to your node and
do the magic.
Do the magic, exactly. But with OpenShift4 it's not necessary. So let's have a look here. We have two machine config pools. So one holds the configuration for my master nodes and the other for worker nodes. So if we look on the worker nodes, you can see here there are multiple configuration here. And if we look, for example, on one of them, so for the container runtime, we can see here, if we go into the YAML, we can see here that there are that here we store the configurations of the files, configuration files, which lives on our cluster worker nodes. And this is the way how we can also modify those configurations, and those configurations will be applied automatically to our nodes. The nodes will be restarted, and we can do it without touching or without doing the SSH magic, as you said, directly on the machine. Also, from the OpenShift command line interface, you can get access to so basically open a SSH session to the node. So you can see here on my command line screen, I have listed the nodes I have in my cluster, and now
so you see 6 nodes. Yeah, six.
6 nodes, just like in the web console. And now if I execute the debug command, it will take a second, but we should see that OpenShift will open for us the terminal session with the node. I can now switch to the node, and here you can see here I am in the node, and I can check, for example, the file I showed you.
Configuration, containers, yeah, it's the containers registries comp.
This is the file you have seen here in the
UI with the YAML, yeah. Okay, yeah, the information it was in YAML.
This file here is URL encoded, but you can of course easily decode this, and here you can see the file in a, let's say, plain text. So using this mechanism, you can modify the configuration files on the node.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's come back to the web console. This is what many people prefer. So
like you said, easier installation, easier updates, and easier, scaling.
Yeah, scaling and the configuration. Also, I would like to show you quickly the monitoring capabilities. So in OpenShift, we have Prometheus as a storage for metrics, and also we have dashboards here based on the Grafana, where you can visualize some metrics related to to your nodes, your cluster in general. The same way as in OpenShift3, we also provide log aggregation. So with Kibana Elasticsearch, we have built-in functionality to collect all logs.
This is a native component, so it's automatically configured, so and attached to
Well, actually the monitoring component is installed out of the box automatically.
So the Elasticsearch and Kibana, yeah.
No, I mean the monitoring component. So Grafana and Prometheus, they are installed out of the box automatically, but logging is optional component, so you can install it on your cluster if you want to use it. There is also a change how you configure the cluster. So in general, if you remember from version 3, cluster configuration was basically distributed between different, let's say, areas or places. So there were some components that you had to configure on the operating system level. There were some components that you had to configure on the Kubernetes level. There were some components that you need to configure basically with some configuration files. With OpenShift4, we have changed that, and all the configuration is done also here using the standardized API.
So we have centralized it, and we can
so
one view to an easy editor.
Exactly. So all the components that belong to your cluster, they can be configured from this, either from web console or from the command line. So just a quick example, the OAuth configuration. So this is the configuration when you where you set up the identity provider. So with identity provider, we manage the user authentication to the cluster, and in version 3, you had to modify configure some files on the operating system level. Here you see that this configuration lives in one of these cluster configurations. Okay, so let's move on to the slides again. So the second big change and big topic for OpenShift4 is the focus on cloud-like experience. So cloud-like experience, what does it really mean? So if you
that was my next question.
Yeah. So if you are a user of AWS or Azure or other public cloud, so you get used to work with this platform in the way that you have some marketplace, some console where you order some services you want to use, so either virtual machine or whatever you need to.
You don't want to care about the lower layers.
Yeah, yes. and everything is provisioned for you automatically in the backend. So this is basically what we call here cloud-like experience, and we wanted also to give that cloud experience everywhere in OpenShift. And this is basically done using two components. So first of them is the multi-cluster management functionality, which is completely new thing that we developed in order to allow customers to monitor and manage multiple clusters from single console. And the other one is the framework, operators framework.
So it will be beneficial for those who are planning to have some installation on-prem and extend the cluster into, for example, AWS.
Exactly, yes, because as you know, with OpenShift, OpenShift can be installed on many infrastructures. You can see here in public cloud, on-premise, and it's might be beneficial for you for many reasons to have one central console where you can register your cluster, where you will get you can manage your subscription, you can get some notifications about updates, new versions, and you can initialize the upgrades from the console.
Are we talking only about the management part, or are we talking also about some migration options to migrate between one cluster to another today?
Not yet, but probably this is also the area for
the space to grow
for develop this solution, because it's brand new functionality which has been introduced in version 4. But what is probably even more interesting here is the operators framework. So the operators are the new way how you can manage the life cycle of any service or application that you want to deploy to Kubernetes. So this framework covers the whole life cycle of your containerized application, starting from the installation through the updates and monitoring, even up to some self-healing and tuning if this is only implemented in your operator. We use this framework in OpenShift very heavily to basically manage the lifecycle of all the components that are part of the OpenShift, as well as we created an open registry for operators called Operator Hub. In the Operator Hub is a registry for the operators, and those operators are either the RedHat products, so this could be components, optional components for OpenShift, like for example the logging, log aggregation component, or this can be other Red Hat products, like for example JBoss middleware family products. But also this registry is a place where you can, where our ISV partners or the open source communities, upstream communities can register and offer access to their operators. And this is exactly what I wanted to show you as a second demo. So again, we can start basically where we have stopped. So in regards to the OpenShift, there is as I mentioned, we use operators heavily in OpenShift. So basically all the functionalities that are running on top of Kubernetes in OpenShift, they are now installed using the operator, and they are managed by the operator. So you can see here the huge library of installed operators, and the configuration for these operators is exactly what I shown you before.
Okay.
So those configuration resources. But this is not the end of the usage of the operator. So we can go here to the operator hub view, and here you have a list of the operators that are available in the registry. If we look, for example, on OpenShift optional operators, you can see here that there are some operators which provide the additional functionalities that will extend the core functionality of your cluster. So, for example, this cluster logging, Elasticsearch, federation for federated deployments. There are some other utility operators, for example qvirt. So if you want to try and run KVM virtual machine in OpenShift, you can do it with that operator, or metering. So if you want to define some chargeback or some metering reports of usage of your cluster, there is also the operator that will install this functionality.
So this is what you said, it's like a marketplace, you know.
Yeah,
you
it
just,
is,
you know, drag and find it, and you can download automatically, and it will go to the sequence you showed this operator. So it will be in the operators. You can configure it later on.
Yes, it is. I mean, not necessarily in that previous screen, but it will be the operator. When you install the operator, it will introduce for you some additional functionality. So we can have a look here, for example, on my cluster on the list of installed operators. So this is not complete list, but let's just focus on that one. So you see here some operators that are installed on my cluster, and then if we go into the details of the operator, we can see what kind of API. So this means what kind of, let's say, objects or application services this operator provides. So in this we have here the example of AMQ Streams operator, which is basically a Kafka messaging platform operator. So this operator provides you the possibility to install a Kafka cluster and some Kafka components. And this is basically and the big benefit of those operators is that when there is a new version, of your of the operator released, it will be downloaded, and then based on the subscription that you created, you might have the automated upgrade of your of your service that is managed by the operator. And also in case of some failures, some errors, the operators will monitor your service and will make automatically the update. So that's basically how this vision of cloud-like experience is implemented. So you have a marketplace here, and you have you install the operator, and the magic of the installation behind is happening in the background. All right, so let's move on to the slides again. And the last part of the new offering new functionalities is the set of tools focused on developers. So I always repeat that OpenShift is really a platform for for applications and for fast application development. So having tools, best in the class tools for developers is really a big focus here. And in OpenShift4 there are a number of new tools that either are already introduced or will be introduced soon. So first of all is Service Mesh. So Service Mesh is an important component of microservice based applications. So this is a platform that you can use to manage, in general, to manage, monitor the communication between your microservices, which can be very complex and requires typically a special attention. And this is why this tools like Istio or project like Istio has been created. The other one is serverless functionality. So we have decided to provide serverless functionality with the Knative project. So with Knative project allows the, let's say, native integration of serverless functionalities into the Kubernetes, and this is the way how we want to provide the serverless functionality. So what does it mean, serverless, here in Kubernetes? It basically means that you deploy the image of with your service or application, but you don't need to start the pod at the time of deploying your image, but it will be started automatically. It will be deployed automatically when the request to the service will come from the.
So you don't need to pre-configure it.
You don't need to run it basically. When you install it, it will be started and deployed when the traffic will come to it. And this is very nice solution for any event-driven applications, which are reacting on some events, for example. Then we have code-ready workspaces. So this is the IDI. What you see on the screen here is basically an IDI which you open in your browser. So it is deployed fully on OpenShift, and developer can deploy the application using the web browser-based IDI interface.
You think it will be the common thing? What's your opinion?
Well, I played a little bit with it. I think it is very nice in case when you have some application deployed and you want to make some quick changes, because it is easy. You can quickly, wherever you are, basically, you can quickly just log in somewhere and open a editor and make some code, build some code, and then go through your CI/CD and get it to production. Whether this will be a tooling for like big applications, we'll see.
So the developers cannot say go to work and say I just forgot my laptop, so I cannot work on my
definitely not. And
go to browser, work on it.
And if you think more about it might really make developers' life much easier, and also it might make your your organization more secure, because you have better control over the source code. There is less, the overhead on maintaining the development environment. So there are many benefits.
I'm also thinking it could be a brilliant part if you just give in the credentials and you just give in or you can easily just using your web browser, whatever you have it, Linux, Mac, or Windows, and work on it.
Exactly. Yeah. And at some time, you will have just tablet or something. You just sit and code. It's already available in OpenShift. So if this looks interesting for you, you can deploy it on top of OpenShift and try it. Next thing, very interesting, is CI/CD, cloud native CI/CD. So we have joined the Tekton project, and with Tekton project there is a new implementation of CI/CD processes which is built in Kubernetes. So in version 3, the CI/CD was based on the Jenkins, which is basically an external tool that you install on top of OpenShift. In version 4, we also support Jenkins, but we would say we joined the wave of change in this area, and we wanted to make it more easy and more straightforward and better integrated with Kubernetes. And the last thing I wanted to mention is the universal base image. So all the applications we run in OpenShift, they are containerized, so we need to build the images. And it was kind of challenge for some customers due to some legal obligations. They couldn't always use rel-based images to build their application or to run their applications. And we wanted to change that, so we wanted to give a new base images for that can be used by anybody, and they can be and you can run containers anywhere based on that images, and this is why we introduced this new universal base image, which is a base image for rel 7 and rel 8. So that's pretty much all in regards to the new features. Of course, there are much more, but these are, I think, the most significant new features that are introduced or were introduced in OpenShift4. I wanted to give you 2 links for the end.
Come back to the slide. Why the 4 is burning right now? It's on fire. You know it, or just marketing?
I don't know, but
any story behind?
It's so hot that it starts burning.
It's so hot. Okay.
No, if something is very hot, it starts burning at some point. So.
Okay, good.
But this is just my interpretation.
Yeah, it's your interpretation.
So I wanted to leave you with with 2 links. So first is learn.openshift.com. So if you want to try without any installation some of those components like Service Mesh or Knative or OpenShift in general, you can go to this webpage and take some hands-on courses without need for installing or running the platform yourself. If you want to take
it's a long courses, or it's a 1-hour courses, or any hints from your side?
It depends. Typically this course they are built. They have number of stages or
modules.
Modules, yeah, exactly. So you can in a very flexible way we can take those trainings. They are very nice because you have web console, you have command line interface, so you interact with this environment just like it would be a full OpenShift. So I think really nice to try. One more web page which we didn't give you the link. So if you change learn into try, so tri.openshift.com, this is where you can start your journey with deploying OpenShift in your or in public or in your own infrastructure. So learn openshift.com and try openshift.com are 2 addresses for you to go.
Okay.
And I think that's
so we have
it for now.
Right now for a question. We had 40 minutes. It's 36, so you have a really good timing, my friend. So right now we're closing the recording, and we'll go into the QA session right now.
Okay.
So thank you everybody for joining our webinar. It was the second part with the Jarosław Stakuń, and we are preparing for the next one. Do you have any clue what we will cover it in the next one?
Well, I think I would come back to this last part of this webinar, so to give you more details about some nice features for developers, and of course I would try to show you also some of them.
Okay, so
in action.
Looking forward to it. We have it always in 6-8 weeks intervals. So please go on Open Virtualization Pro, subscribe, and get the latest knowledge. So thank you everybody for this session. We're right now going into the QA.